Yo, what is going on? What is going on? We are here live. This is the Boxing Source, and we are, having a live reaction of the weigh-in that happened between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Let me see if I could do something here real quick. Looks like I sent a link over. Let me see if they're available here at this particular point. Let me see something. Hey, do you hear me?
Good, Joe. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's going on, my man? Good
Yeah,
to
all
have you
good,
on
all
here.
good. Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah, I just saw your links. I thought I just watched the weigh-in, so I thought to get involved before I go to bed.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll go through it here real quick, man. I mean, you have it with the Tyson Fury coming in there at 273 pounds and Deontay Wilder at 231 pounds. What did you think of it?
I thought they're both substantially bigger than last time, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I didn't expect Fury to be so big as well, but two
Mhm.
7-3 come in. Wilder 2-3 2-3-1 was it, and he
Yeah.
still had his gear on as always.
Hmm.
gets a few extra pounds on, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's gone the distance.
Mm. Well, with both guys, in comparison to their first fight, they're at least 15 to 20 pounds bigger than they were in the first fight. You had Tyson Fury around 253 or so pounds, and Deontay Wilder was like around 215. And initially with that one, when I saw Wilder at 215, I'm like, man, he's out there like 6'7" and lighter than I am. You know, but even in that particular instance, we saw the fight. We saw how Fury was able to move around the ring and move his head and things like that, dodging a lot of his shots. Um, so that in comparison to what we have right now, that is like a little bit of a comparison that we got going on here. So that's something that I'm looking at here going into this particular fight.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have some sort of an effect. He's going to be less mobile, isn't he? Or you would think so. Hey, Matt.
Go ahead, man, go ahead.
I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. Uh, guys, that was that was an excellent way in 273. Did not take off his shirt like Andy Ruiz. Um, Wilder 231 looking ripped, jacked, looking like the heavyweight champion of the world.
Oh
And
boy.
one more night of sleep before we watch Fury go to sleep, and I can't wait.
I mean, we will see. I mean, this thing about, like I was telling Liam there, that Tyson Fury did say at the conference call that I was able to take part in, that he said that he was absolutely comfortable with the weight that he's
Hmm.
coming in at, and they were saying like he was going to be 270 pounds or so. So that was the thing that we had coming into this, that we expected Tyson Fury to come in
Hmm.
at 270 pounds, but hey, they're like 273. Oh my
Hmm.
God. Oh
273.
man, we can't even. Oh, I'm trying to add one more. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, you can't
Where's
come
her
in here with that
face?
little. Yeah, that's what I'm
What's
talking
going
about.
on,
Come
Kelly?
on now. Now, hey,
I'm
hey,
in
hey, man,
bed.
hey, man.
We
We
already
got.
have the blank face,
Yeah,
the
we already
babe.
had. Yeah, we already had. Yo, I was gonna say, yo, you ain't messy. Come on, we got. Hey, I think this is a tease for us. I think this is a tease
I'm
for
actually
us.
in bed.
See, I knew it. I knew it. That's the thing about it. Hey, so we got Kelly Mills on with us. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. So, what did you think about the weigh-in and both Fury and Wilder coming in at 273 and 231 pounds respectively?
It's pretty close. I've not actually caught the weigh-in. I've only seen the posts about it. So feel free to fill me in on that.
Well, yeah, I'll just run by it again. You had Tyson Fury coming in at 273. He said that he was coming in at 270. He said that pretty much the week before. And Deontay Wilder at 231 pounds. That is about what 15, 16 pounds more than he came in the first fight. So everybody's like all up in arms about Tyson Fury coming in at 273 pounds. But I mean, he is 6'9", so I mean,
Hmm.
this isn't necessarily a basketball player like Deontay Wilder used to be. Um, we're talking about a fighter that's in there in the ring. So he's kind of being in there, and I think that is going to go into one little approach that I had in reference to Tyson Fury on how he's going to fight this particular fight, which will be different than how he did in the first one. I think she had to roll. Oh, damn.
What did Stavern weigh in whenever we were laughing at him? That
I
quick.
Stavern.
think it was like,
Yeah, what was his?
wasn't he like 250 something?
Yeah, I think he was around the 250s or something
I'm
like
just
that.
trying to, I'm just trying to imagine the actual weight. Do you know what I mean? He's a
Yeah,
big
but I
dude,
mean
isn't he?
that's Stavern. Stavern is like 6'3". So we're talking about guys that are
Mm,
6'3", 6'4", weighing those things in comparison to someone that's 6'9".
mm.
Um, so
Yeah, but
when
this fight is gonna end like the first Deverne fight, so that's a good comparison.
So it's one of them. Like it's
mm, I don't know about that, Matt. Yeah, I mean, like, you're the
Wilder
one that
gonna
be seeing
fold
the
him
win.
up.
Nah, I
I
He
ain't
don't,
gonna
I
fold
don't
confident.
him
see it.
up, man.
I don't see it. I still don't see it, man. Something tells me that this, like, like I said, I got Fury winning by decision, but I'm thinking this
How
gonna
is
be
Fury
some
gonna
type of
last 12 rounds at 273 pounds?
by making it like the Klitschko fight.
He wasn't that heavy for Klitschko. Wasn't he like 256 for Klitschko?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, he's going to use his 6'9" frame to tie up Deontay Wilder, and he's going to
Mm,
make it a sloppy fight. In other words, you're going to
So
have
what you're
all of
telling me
those
is
people.
Wilder's gonna uppercut him on the inside, is what you're telling me, and knock him out like that.
Nah, he's not gonna uppercut
He's gonna hit him
Tyson
with that
Fury.
Luis Ortiz, that punch he hit Luis Ortiz with in the first fight. That had
Mm,
Luis Ortiz thinking about his PED usage.
nah. The thing with Deontay Wilder is, I think that he would have to make a concerted effort to get to the inside. I want to see if Deontay Wilder can move around a little bit more to try to get closer to
Hmm.
Tyson Fury. You have, of course, we have the height advantage and the reach advantage to Tyson Fury. And I said after the first fight that within those first few rounds, you had Tyson Fury, controlling the range in that particular fight. And that the only time that Deontay Wilder had success or more success was when he was able to, get closer to like mid range and, when Fury wasn't
Hmm.
throwing. When Wilder was at mid range, he was able to throw his hooks. When he started to throw his hooks, that's when he became more successful. When he was throwing his jabs early in the fight, he couldn't necessarily get to Tyson Fury that
That's
much
not
because
true.
Fury.
That's not true.
Oh,
That's not true.
hey,
I
look,
think that Deontay Wilder didn't get enough credit for his jab to the stomach and his jab to the chest of Fury. I think that's what really was slowing Fury down, which is why, upon rewatching the fight, I actually, on my rewatch, scored the fight for Wilder. I thought he just wasn't getting enough credit for what he was doing. Tyson Fury would stick out his tongue, mug for the camera, and they were like, "Oh, give him the round. He looks like he's celebrating." But if you look at what was actually going on in the rounds, Deontay Wilder was jabbing him to the body, jabbing him to the chest, applying the pressure to Fury. He was more active than Fury, and he was able to drop him and got what should have been a knockout victory.
Oh, that should have been a knockout victory.
Yeah, shout out to Jack Reese.
Yeah,
Showtime Jack Reese.
for explaining, for making a great explanation of what happened when Tyson Fury got knocked down. Oh man, but I just felt that Wilder at
Hmm.
that for the majority of the first half of the fight kind of like reacted, to what Fury was doing and trying to
Yeah,
counter what Fury was doing in spots. And a lot of times it was Wilder being Wilder and I don't mean that as far as like doing the whole windmill stuff. The thing with Wilder is that
yo,
he
what
throws
windmill
he
stuff?
throws I, I said not
Y'all gotta
with
stop.
the wim-
But he
I
don't
said
do no
not
windmill
with
stuff.
the windmill stuff.
Yeah.
I clarified what I said. I said not with the windmill stuff. What I mean with Deontay Wilder is every time he throws his punches, he throws it with too much effort behind it.
Hmm.
Okay, they say, oh, he throws with a lot of power, but he throws with too much effort behind it. So, like when you see him miss, it seems like he misses badly, but that's because he
Yeah,
puts
but
in
if
so
he
much
misses so
effort in his
badly,
punches. You
so
know,
then why aren't his opponents making him pay for missing badly? The only time
because
I
he's able
saw
to get
him.
away with that, being that he is 6'7", and the majority of
Okay,
his fighters are 6'4" or less. That's
but he
why
got
it
away
was
with it with Fury also.
not necessarily, not for the majority of those rounds. No, he didn't. He didn't.
Mm. How'd you score the
Okay,
fight?
I scored the fight for Fury 9 rounds to 3.
Mm, okay.
Initially, I scored it 9 rounds to 3. Okay,
Did you rewatch the fight?
I rewatched the fight and I scored it for Fury 8 rounds to 4.
Yeah, I did something similar.
Yeah, it was like 8 rounds to 4. So
Mm.
the thing about it is like, with Tyson Fury, he made Wilder miss a lot of those punches. He made him
Yeah.
miss a lot of those punches. And that's why I was like, he pretty much had a majority of those first, 7 to 8 rounds in the bag before Wilder was able to touch him in the ninth round. And in both cases of those knockdowns, Fury did not take the full brunt of Wilder's punch in either one of those knockdowns. In the ninth round, he got grazed by the two hook combination, and then he
Hmm.
went down. And that's why, like, he stood up when he was down there. He was like holding his head because he got grazed in the top of his head before he was able to get up. Okay, and then in the second one, it was basically Fury doing what he was doing pretty much the whole fight. Every time that Wilder threw his first punch in a two-punch combination,
Hmm.
Fury ducked down.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then to the side. Yeah.
yeah, and then to the
Every
side.
time. Hmm.
So in that 12th round, he basically did the same thing. He just went down, from the right, and then when he went back, he got hit by the left, and that's when he hit the canvas. And when
Hmm.
he hit the canvas, it was like he didn't, land funny or land like what was it? Who was the thing that Ryan Garcia beat that previous like last weekend? Um, with that Garcia first round knockout that happened, um,
Hmm.
he like hit his head, back of his head on the canvas. That's why
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
stopped the count. But with Tyson Fury, he pretty much landed and he was just there. He had one of his legs up and he was looking straight up. So that
Hmm.
when Jack Reese was continuing to count, Tyson Fury was looking straight at him. So he knew, he was fully aware of what the count was. That's why he was able to get up. Like he was able
Hmm.
to get up. And the second thing is with Wilder, if he had those knockdowns, he should have been able to finish him if he, was really considerably better in that particular fight. But in both cases, after both knockdowns, Tyson Fury got the better of Deontay Wilder. You know,
I agree. I believe both times he got back up, he arguably won the round. Maybe not in the what was it? The ninth was the first time he went down.
yeah,
I thought I was maybe a bit close, but he definitely won the 12th. To be perfectly honest with you, like I said, I scored it similar to you, 8 rounds to 4. But in the 12th round, I didn't think that he was going to continue to count. I wouldn't have complained if he argued off as well. I thought he was gone right at the end of the fight. I thought he was gone, but yeah, he rose up and yeah, he got him with a right hand straight after he got back up as well. It was an absolute beautiful punch.
hmm
So yeah, it obviously wasn't as affected, or if he was affected, his recovery skills are underrated.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. But the thing about it is like I said, he didn't get caught flush with either one of those punches, and that's when I looked at that in on the replay, I was like, oh, so he just basically got grazed just a little bit more than he did in the well, that first knockdown he got grazed, and in the second knockdown he got the same way. He got grazed the same way, but it was just with a little bit more effect in this
Hmm.
instance. So that's the thing about it. You know, he just was able to get up and continue that 12th round. And the other thing with that first fight, after that first knockdown in the ninth round, and Tyson Fury was able to come back. Not only was he able to do that in that particular instance, but in the 10th round, he was able to like have Deontay Wilder miss pretty much almost every punch in that round, and that was really crazy. At that particular point, to have Fury be able to not have Wilder land many punches in that particular instance, you know.
Hmm.
So, in this particular fight, in this rematch that's coming up tomorrow, we got to see if Tyson Fury is going to be able to do that. I don't think that he's going to be as mobile as he was in the first
Yeah.
fight, but I think what he's going to do early is he's going to test his own chin. I think he wants to basically test the power of Deontay Wilder early and say, you know what? If I could get him to, throw what he throws and then come right back at him, I don't know if he's going to be able to, come back at him. And I think with him being a higher weight, he kind of like is putting what he did at the near the end of the 12th round as a big factor, because he was able to stun Deontay Wilder near the end
Hmm.
of that 12th round. And so, with that being known, he's like, hey, I feel that if I have a little bit more behind my punches, I feel that I could hurt Deontay Wilder. He said multiple times that he's going for a knockout. I don't think that he could really knock out Deontay Wilder. He might be able to stop Deontay Wilder, but I don't think
Hmm.
he'll be able to knock him out. Um, Anything more from you here, Liam? Because I got something else that I saw, before the weigh-in that I noticed with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, well, what I was going to add is just I just want to include the rematch factor into it because both guys
Hmm
have spent 12 rounds with each other. Uh, they kind of know what they're all about, and Wilder's had a fair few rematches. Tyson Fury's had a rematch with Chisora as well, so they know what rematches are about. So it'll be
hmm
interesting to see. I think it will either be an all-out war or a complete chess match, one or the other. I don't think there'll
Yeah,
be any middle ground at all.
yeah.
That was pretty much it on the way in so far.
hmm Now, the thing with Tyson Fury that I saw that I noticed, you know, a lot of people were talking about that the cut that he suffered against Otto Wallin, but
Hmm.
I didn't really notice anything as far as like his eye is concerned, but I saw something on his bottom lip. Yes.
Yes, yes, I saw that as
And
well.
yeah, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? You know?
So, so apparently, all all training camp, Tyson Fury didn't want to wear any headgear in
Yeah,
sparring or anything like
they
that.
noticed that. Yeah,
Hmm
yeah, yeah. They were talking about that in the ESPN presentation of the weigh-in, that Tyson Fury had headgear at first, but he was like, man, I'm uncomfortable with this. I'm taking this off. So
hmm
maybe he was able to kind of just take that off and just see what he could do in training camp
Yeah.
during this particular time in preparation against Deontay Wilder. So that is maybe something for Deontay Wilder to focus on.
Yeah, well, as you said yourself about the cut is I couldn't see any
Oh, you were saying something?
about that reopening
Yep.
too much. It looks like you can barely see it anymore. But like, yeah, we both noticed on the lip it was
Mm-hmm.
definitely some sort of accident, or I don't know, maybe he's got a cat or something like that. But it's
Yeah.
definitely a problem with the lip. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that is something that, I would be concerned about. If he, is kind of like not able to, move as well, then that's something where he could be more susceptible to those punches being landed in his head. And if he gets hit like square in the lips, then that could easily open up. You know,
hmm
so that's what I'm kind of like concerned at in reference to Tyson Fury going into this particular bout. So um, I mean, it's pretty much a little bit over 24 hours away. It's going to be a pay per view event, fairly big pay per view event. Um, I'm gonna be out to the theaters to watch it over here stateside. Oh, also in the weigh-in, what did you think about the atmosphere there at the MGM Grand Garden Arena with the fans out there screaming, "There's only one Tyson Fury," you know?
that's that was yeah. I was didn't expect that. There was a lot of fans there. Got to be fair to that. There was quite a lot of turnout for a weigh-in. But yeah, Wheeler seemed to play the villain again in Vegas, didn't he?
Yeah,
play the villain. He was getting booed, and the fans were singing for Fury,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it did.
And the thing about it is that I've kind of like said this about Wilder, is that he, for some reason, he has to embrace that villain role. I
hmm
think that with Al Heyman is trying to make Deontay Wilder like Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather was able to market himself as the villain
hmm
in a majority of his fights, and that is how he was able to get people to watch, because they wanted to watch to see if he was going to lose. You know, and he was able to get people to tune in to see if he was going to lose, and he kept on winning. So um,
Yeah, there's many
that's
occasions.
something. Yeah. So, but they're trying to do that with Deontay Wilder, but the problem with Deontay Wilder is he doesn't have that full um, type of marketability in order to do that. On two instances, one, he doesn't fully he didn't really embrace the role at the beginning. He
hmm
still wanted to be the the guy. You had the story with his daughter and everything like that, but then at the same time he talks about all these other topics, and saying that these guys are ducking him, or these other guys ain't necessarily wanting to fight him, or whatever it is. And it just makes him be pretty much I wouldn't necessarily say polarizing, but I would say a little bit contradictory in some aspects. So that doesn't necessarily work when you're trying to get a fighter to be a guy that's supposed to be marketable, so that every time that he has an event, it's a very successful event. Um, and that thing with Fury was his very first pay per view, and he's been in the fight game for over 10 years plus. So it shouldn't have taken him 10 years or so for him to have his first pay per view event against a Tyson Fury, who at the time had two warm up fights after being out of the ring for 2.5 years. So right now, this is basically what they have for Deontay Wilder. And I mean, you have that first fight with Tyson Fury that had 325,000 pay per view buys here. And then you had, the fight against Luis Ortiz that had about 250,000, 275,000 or so pay per view buys. So
Right.
there's a lot on the line in this particular bout for Deontay Wilder, as far as like if they want to push him as a pay per view, star.
I think it will do a lot better than the first one. I've
Mhm.
seen, especially over in the United Kingdom, like the whole the promotion has been huge. It's been on all the radio stations and everything like that. I've really been pushing it.
Mhm.
My girlfriend come home from work and she says people at work are talking about it and things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So it
Okay.
really has kicked on here. So I would expect
Okay.
it to do a lot better than the first
Okay.
one.
Well, over here, I mean, I was like out in, the like fast food places or whatever it is, and they had like stuff on ESPN on TV, and I noticed people like looking, at the TV while they were, talking about the Wilder Fury fight. So, I tried to ask a couple of people. I was like, "Hey, you saw what, the thing there with Wilder and Fury?" And they were like, "Yeah." It's like, "Are you interested in seeing the fight?" It's like, "Yeah, nah." And then there's, some other, another person that I asked, he said if they were interested in the fight. He was like, yeah, because he's a boxing fan. So
hmm
the thing about it is like, that's what I'm concerned about is that in order for it to be a very successful pay per view here, it has to be somebody either that, they want to see lose
hmm
or that they definitely, back no matter what. Or
Yeah.
if it's somebody that, kind of like is a crossover star, so to speak. So the
hmm
thing with Floyd Mayweather was he was able to work every avenue that he possibly could, even though he was fighting like the De La Hoyas and the Ricky Hattons and everybody like that. He was still, going on Dancing with the Stars. He was still going into WrestleMania against the Big Show and all of that. So, so he was able to pull that off. But this right here, you don't necessarily get that from Deontay Wilder. On the flip side, you got it with Tyson Fury, which I felt was pretty interesting given
hmm
that one, Tyson Fury wasn't necessarily the guy that Fox was backing, you know, and
hmm
two, it's not like they necessarily wanted to tap into that particular market as much as they want to do here in the U.S. So I kind of
hmm
like feel like that is interesting, but if it's something where I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to build Tyson Fury to be the guy. Top
hmm
Rank is fully invested in the Tyson Fury. They, gave him the deal. They put him on ESPN. They had, two fights in Vegas. Now they have this one in Vegas. He still has two fights left under that contract. So it's like they're pretty much all in with Tyson Fury on Top
hmm
Rank side. So that's kind of like something that I'm, looking at too in reference to this particular fight is that, if it's close, man, I don't know, man. They might lean towards Tyson Fury, man. They might do it.
Well, I think it would definitely shake things up again. It would force. Do you think there'd be a third one if Fury won? Would you think he would rematch
If
him?
Fury won, yes,
Yeah.
I think so, yes. Like I said, I have Fury by decision. I think, but I'm fearing that it'll be somewhat controversial.
hmm
Um, Depending on how successful this event is going to be. Um, One thing is that, like I said, they invested a lot of money into this particular bout to where you have to have in the US at least 1 million to 1.2 million pay-per-view buys in order for them to break even on the budget that they spent for this.
Yeah.
So and for me, I'm not quite seeing that because as of yesterday, the fight wasn't sold out. Um, it might be sold out after this weigh-in. I'm gonna check again as far as like tickets are concerned, but if the fight isn't sold out, that means to me it's not really in high demand from the general public or for boxing fans in general. Like they're not able to get themselves going in order to go to this particular fight. Like it's not a can't miss type of fight.
Hmm.
Even with some people that don't necessarily follow boxing that much, if there's like a fight that they can't miss, they're going to watch it one way or another. That's the thing with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was able to get it to where no matter who he fought, people didn't want to miss seeing Floyd Mayweather like that. So
Yeah,
here, I'm not necessarily seeing it from either side, from Wilder side or Fury side. So, and for me, I'm going to the theaters to watch it, and I've checked movie theaters around this area, and it's not like those theaters are filling up either. So I don't know.
yeah.
And it's also like very expensive to try to host a pay-per-view in the bars or the restaurants over
Hmm.
here too, because they charge per head
What
for
is
it.
it? 80, 85, $90
Yeah,
in
it's
the
about
US?
80. It's about $85 or so, 75 to $85. So, for
That's
example, like one guy that I work with alongside doing the boxing coverage, he said like in the bars they charge the pay per view amount times how the capacity of that particular venue. So, if you have a capacity of 250 people,
hmm.
they charge you $75 times that 250 in order for you to host that fight in your venue. So that's why you have like all of those bars charging sometimes $10 per person or 25 or over in Vegas right now it's like in the actual venue, so they're charging $100,
Hmm.
per. So I mean, when you have it like that, that's the only way that those, venues are able to make money to try to host those fights because
It's almost not
they're
worth
being
it.
charged. Yeah, it's pretty much like
Yeah.
not worth it, in that
Hmm.
instance. And here, we've said it multiple times, like on the show and stuff like that. Like in this day and age, when people could just go ahead and say, "Hey, I could go over to this particular site and watch it," then
Yeah.
what's the point of people paying 75, $85 in that instance? But I've said, yeah, they have to support this fight because if they don't, then yeah, maybe it'll kill pay per view, but you won't be seeing these fighters getting paid as much as they being paid.
Yeah.
Um, you have they saying that they're getting a guarantee of up to $25 million, per. So the total purse is going to be up to 50 million for Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. They got to make that money.
Yeah. Somewhere.
They got to make their money somewhere.
Well,
And
I was watching. I was sorry. I was watching the weigh-in, and they said it was a virtual sellout. Okay, it didn't say it was an actual sellout. It said it was a virtual sellout. And what was it? Jimmy Lennon Jr. actually said is like you can actually still go on the website now and have a look. There's things available.
Mhm.
And as I was watching the stream, tickets spammed up about at least 5 times, telling me buy tickets now, buy tickets now.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
so they're it's the last attempt to
yeah. Last
try
little
and
push.
sell what
Yeah,
they can.
last
Yeah,
little
yeah,
push.
yeah.
And yeah, the other thing that they were saying about the weigh-in was like, oh yeah, that weigh-in was like kind of the most people in the weigh-in. I'm like, no, 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 no. That Mayweather Hatton,
Thought
that
that
was
was
packed.
ridiculous.
Mayweather Canelo, that was packed. Mayweather Pacquiao, they charged $50 to $60 a ticket for the weigh-in, and that was absolutely packed. So there's no way that they could say that this thing for Wilder Fury 2 was as packed as those. No way. I saw empty seats at the back of
Yeah,
the thing for this weigh-in. There was hardly any seat that you couldn't find for that Mayweather Pacquiao weigh-in. No way, you
Yeah.
know.
I was more, like I said, I was more surprised at how many Fury supporters, fans, whatever you want to call them, were there. I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't expect such a big crowd for him, to
I
be
didn't
honest.
either.
But yeah,
I didn't either. I was very surprised given for me given that the thing for Fury in Fury's first two fights over in Las Vegas, they weren't, very well attended.
hmm
But I guess, a lot of the fans, of Fury or fans of the sport said, okay, this is big enough for me to just go ahead and, put this thing in here for for to support Fury. Shout out to the real Mr. Tallahassee 850 up in here. He says Wilder in 5. Wilder in 5. So that's the one of the predictions in there. Like like I was saying, I have Tyson Fury by decision, man. But I think with this thing about him being 270 so pounds, um, I just feel like he's gonna make it a sloppy fight. I hope it's not,
hmm
because if it's a sloppy fight, then there won't be as much interest if there's a third fight, you know?
it's very
Um,
true.
you know, so that's the
Yeah.
thing that I have in reference to that type of strategy by Tyson Fury if he does incorporate that strategy. Um, so what do you think will be the approach for Tyson Fury in this case?
I think he'll start off slow, uh, quite cagey, moving, jabbing. I think in the third, fourth, fifth round, he's going to come into it a bit. I think uh, I think Fury will take over, jab, keeping the good range in the third, fourth, fifth. I think the sixth and the seventh it will be kind of flat, and I think Fury's going to not Wilder. I think Wilder's going to catch him, and the way I think it's going to be is I think Wilder's going to throw when Fury's throwing as well. He's going to catch him. I think they're both going to sort of like be throwing at the same time. That's what I think. Obviously, I'd like Fury to win, but it's just going off the last fights. I can't step away from the fact that twice he knocked him down, and like we said earlier, it wasn't clean punches. So I'm thinking Fury's going to be a little less mobility towards the end of the fight.
Yeah,
And
less mobile. Yeah.
I think Wilder. I think if Wilder's proved in his last fight, at least against Luis Ortiz, that he can be virtually ineffective for 8 rounds, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
catch him.
but for
It's
me,
not like
I don't really compare those fights because for me, watching the Ortiz fights, it's like Deontay Wilder knew that as long as he was able to use his reach against Luis Ortiz, then Luis
mm,
Ortiz wouldn't be able to completely affect him. And he did that in the first fight, especially in the first 3 rounds of that fight. And then he was able to do it in the second fight. And, I got into, a little bit of a back and forth with Massey when I was talking about it the other day. I said,
yeah,
in the first fight, like Deontay Wilder, all he did was just keep his left hand out. He didn't necessarily throw the jab that much. He just kept it out because he wanted to basically set his range against Luis Ortiz, and Luis Ortiz couldn't get to him. So
mm,
Ortiz was throwing, but he wasn't, landing on Deontay Wilder at that particular time. And, that like forced it to be not much action in those first 3 rounds, and the crowd at the Barclays Center was booing, right? So
mm-hmm,
it was basically on Wilder to incite the action. And so all he did was, after he kept his left hand out, all he did was throw that right hand. And the first time that he threw that right hand and was able to land clean on Luis Ortiz, he was able to, affect Luis Ortiz and then score that first knockdown. So
mm-hmm,
for me, Wilder is able to do a lot against guys that are much smaller than him and don't have that much range.
mm-hmm.
But against guys that are around his height, and against guys that move their head a lot, he has issues with. And in the first fight, Tyson Fury was able to do both. And
Hmm.
so that's why it was like very difficult for Wilder for a majority of that, fight until around the eighth and ninth round, where Fury kind of, stopped being as mobile, and Wilder was able to get close and be in mid range and be able to throw his hooks. So when he was able to
JR,
do that, so you know,
yeah, my phone's about to die now,
all
mate,
right,
so I'm going to have to take off. But
all right,
appreciate you having me on. Lovely to chat to you. All
oh
right,
no,
boxing
no problem.
source.
All right, so what we got going on here is I was going to talk, like I said, I was talking about that first particular fight, um where Deontay Wilder had a little bit of issues trying to get to Tyson Fury because, like I said, Tyson Fury is 6'9" with about a 82, 83 or so inch reach, 85-inch reach. So he's 6'9" with an 85 inch reach comparison to Wilder, who has a 6'7" frame and has an 83-inch reach. So it took, him, a little bit for him to try to get to Tyson Fury. And that's why, Tyson Fury was able to, move around with his head, give a little feint and a jab and, get inside and get outside. But in the later parts of that particular fight, Fury wasn't doing that as much. And when he wasn't doing it as much, it wasn't as active with his hands. That's when Wilder was able to get into mid range and throw, the hooks that he was able to throw. And with with Fury, he was off balance in that ninth round. Got grazed with the hook combination by Wilder and was able to go down. And he was able to get up, and then when he was able to get up, he was able to be more active and then throwing and moving in and out, and and he was able to come back in that particular round. In the 10th round, you really didn't have that much action. Like I was saying with Wilder, he didn't land but one punch. So um, that's the thing. Shout out to Hocus Pocus, trying to stay focused. He says that he's starting to believe Fury's strategy now. He does want that KO. And, like I was, saying, I mean, I was, on the conference call. You could catch the audio transcript of the conference call on this YouTube channel. If you go closer to the tail end of that conference call, you'll be able to, hear me bring up that topic of Tyson Fury's weight, and he said that he is completely comfortable being at around 270 pounds. And he's like looking at it to the point where he wants to have more power behind those punches. And for me, it's one thing to have more power behind one's punches, but I said that with Fury in this rematch, he is going to try to test Wilder early and also try to take Wilder's punches early because he said all the time, "Oh, you hit me with two of your hardest punches and you were able to knock me down twice, and I was able to get up and I still was able to come back, whatever it is." And this time around, I think that he's gonna try to see if he could go toe to toe with Deontay Wilder. Him being 273 pounds here, the night before, that's gonna be something. Deontay Wilder is at 230, 231 pounds. But for me, with Deontay Wilder, a lot of people bring up the whole thing about Deontay Wilder being athletic, but he's not someone that necessarily moves around the ring that much. Um, and particularly in the majority of his fights, but it's like I said, he's able to get away with a lot against guys that are shorter than him, don't have that particular reach. So he doesn't necessarily have to move that much as long as he keeps his range away and keeps his left left hand out. If he could control that range and keep that right hand back, then his opponents have to get to him. And then when they get to him, then if he feels like he's in danger, he could, try to throw that right hand. You know what I mean? But here against Fury, he doesn't have that reach advantage. You know what I mean? Real quick from the real Mr. Tallahassee, shout out to 850, baby. Do you think Wilder's daughter is still his main motivation, or is it fame and money? Ooh, very good question. Very good question. I feel that it is. But for me, I haven't really heard Wilder mention his daughter as much now than he did, when he was making his first few defenses of the WBC Heavyweight Championship. Now, I do still think it's, in the forefront of his mind, but it's not like a major topic for Deontay Wilder. It's not like a major story for Deontay Wilder now as it was back in 2015 or 2016 or something like that. So that that's something there that I'm kind of looking at too. Is I'm not seeing them mentioning his daughter that much. In comparison to like how they blowing up this whole thing with Tyson Fury and mental illness and coming back from all that, and they ain't even doing that much of that with Deontay Wilder. You know, um, so that's a good question though. That's a good question. Now, back into this fight. I'm looking to see what's going to happen with Deontay Wilder if he's going to be this supposed athletic guy that a lot of his fans and some people within boxing say that he is. For me, being athletic in the being able to move in and out, being fluid in everything that you do, being able to get in and out of the pocket, being able to be mindful of where you are in the ring and being able to adjust no matter where you are in the ring, whether you're cornered, whether you're in the middle of the ring, whether you're in range or outside, out of range or anything like that. I don't really see that with Deontay Wilder. Let me see if I can get this whole thing here. All right. Was not expecting Fury to come in this heavy. However, his height should help him, and his mobility will not be insanely reduced. If he gets a KO, which is not impossible, it will be a historic fight. Very, very, very good point there, Tom. Um, yeah, like I was mentioning, um, Tyson Fury coming in around 270 pounds. That was his plan. And yes, his height will help him. He's 6'9". It will be 273 pounds or so, and with an 85-inch reach. So he has 2 inches of a reach advantage in comparison to Deontay Wilder. And in that first fight, that's what I saw. That's what I noticeably saw first, was that his reach was a little bit more than Deontay Wilder, and he was able to land with his full extension of his punch, while Deontay Wilder was able to just try to get here. You know what I mean? So um, here we go. Real quick, and here we go. Eugene Gardner comes in. Bringing the thing here back up. Sure, I thought I had it. Um, 273 pounds versus 256 pounds of Tyson Fury. 212 pounds, and I said it was like 215. 212 pounds versus 231 for Wilder. Fury's best skills is movement, and Wilder's is power. He says Wilder KO in 5. You can't move better at 273 pounds than at 256 pounds. Well, I don't know about that. It depends on the person. There's some people that could move very well with added weight than they do at lower weights. It depends on how that weight is distributed. How they're able to be mobile at that particular weight, and their endurance and wind at that particular weight. Like Tyson Fury was at 256 pounds in this first fight, and he was able to move around and be bouncing in his step and throwing his hands up and being like and whatever it was. But at that second half of the fight, you saw a little bit of a drop off from Tyson Fury, and that is when Deontay Wilder was able to catch him with the hooks that he was able to throw. So now we got to see what happens with Tyson Fury being at 270 plus here in this particular fight. Now, they've shown videos of him being bouncing in his step, jumping rope and things like that at added weight. But we'll have to see what happens in the ring. I just think that he won't be as mobile and he's going to change up his strategy in this particular fight. Let me see here. Tom Hess says here, even with this movement last time, it wasn't enough. He may as well go for it. He can go for some counter punches and try to work on the inside and could KO Wilder. He could do that. He could do that. I've said that once again. I favor Tyson Fury by decision. The first fight, I thought Wilder was going to eventually catch up to Tyson Fury and stop Tyson Fury and knock him out, but it ended up being a draw. Here, I felt that Tyson Fury at his level would be able to get a decision over Deontay Wilder. As far as like KOing Wilder, I don't know. Like actually knocking him out, like 1-2 to 10 or whatever it is. I don't know. I think he could be stopped. He could be stopped, but I don't think he could be knocked out. Um, and that's kind of what I'm looking at here with Tyson Fury. If he's able to land very well and land often on Deontay Wilder, I don't think he's going to be able to knock him down. But I think that he will be. I mean, knock him out. But I think that he'll be able to, basically, um, knock him down. Let me see here, real quick. Um, let me see if we could. Um, what is it? We're gonna go through a quote unquote quick so-called commercial break real quick. I'm gonna see if I could get something here real quick. But we're going to continue this boxing talk here in a bit. Just have to get something real quick and then come right back. So just bear with me for 1 second. Let's see. Hold on just a moment. Hold on a minute. Your boy had to get reinforcements. All right. See what we got going on here. All right. So, all right, we're back. A quick reminder. I'm gonna see if we could be live on this channel while while things are going on with the particular fight tomorrow. So be on the lookout in this particular channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see if we could do something as far as like a live report while things are going on, or if not, then we'll have a post-fight reaction to Wilder versus Fury 2. Just going back into this particular fight. like Eugene Gardner was talking about this weight comparison. Both fighters are coming in heavier, and it just depends on you know how comfortable those guys are at those weights. Um, for me, with Wilder, I think that he gives up a lot of energy in his punches, in that he's not very active and very fluent with his punches in comparison to someone like Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury can throw combinations, throw 3 punch, 4 punch combinations, you know. So, you know what I mean? Um Eugene says Fury kept his shirt on for a reason. He's not in top shape. Ask any boxer or trainer. You're a better fighter when you're lighter. That's what makes Fury who he is. Fury just pulled in Andy Ruiz. Now, I am not sure about that. Andy Ruiz came in considerably heavier in his rematch against Anthony Joshua in comparison to his first fight on June 1st, 2019. Now, the thing about that fight, that first fight in Madison Square Garden, Andy Ruiz was pretty much coming off a few weeks after being in a particular fight. Okay. So he was going through a little bit of a streak of fights, whether it was like 3 months or 4 months after and things like that. Because remember, after he had his fight against Joseph Parker for, at the time, the vacant WBO heavyweight championship, and he ended up losing by decision, Bob Arum put him on the shelf. So he had been, basically sitting on the couch, for over a year. Then he got signed by Heyman Boxing. I was able to have a couple of fights. He did defeat, I think it was Alexander Dimitrenko. I'm gonna make sure about that. He fought, Dimitrenko on April 20th, 2019, and then it wasn't but a couple of weeks after that he was able to secure the fight between him and Anthony Joshua. And so he didn't necessarily have to be out of, the gym or whatever it is. So he was working, he was, being active with his hands and everything like that. But the thing with Andy Ruiz is not somebody that's a mobile guy, regardless. He's always been big. He's always been a fat guy. It's just that he's been, able to, work his arms and know how to punch, when to punch, and everything like that. And he's been doing that since he was 6 years old. So he's been in the game for a long time. So it doesn't matter, with Ruiz, because Ruiz has always been a big dude. He's always been a big dude. So the problem with Ruiz was Ruiz had been going through a string of fights where he kind of is active and everything like that. So in the majority of his career, up until that particular point that he fought Joseph Parker, he was fighting at, a clip of, 2 months, or after, 3 months or so, or, something like that. There may have been something where he kind of was, out, for an extended period of time, but after that, he was still, back at it. Like, for example, in 2014, he had fought, in May, then he fought in October, and then he fought in December. But then after that, he took a little break, and then he fought in September of 2015, and then fought pretty much a month later. Then in 2016, he had 4 fights in May, in July, in September, until his fight against Joseph Parker for that vacant WBO title. So he had been fairly active as far as his fights are concerned. So him being, kind of active, that's what kind of keeps him going and, brings him active. But after he defeated Anthony Joshua for the unified heavyweight championships, his whole schedule changed. Everything came crashing towards him. So he became from the underdog to the guy, just like that. And when you do that, all of the attention comes to you. Everything that you got to do, the appearances, being on the shows, going through parades, getting the money, trying to handle all that money, trying to handle all that attention. And initially, Andy Ruiz was not ready for all of that. That's why you had his trainer at that time, Manny Robles was saying, "Hey, yeah, I know that you're the champion and all of that, but we got to get back into the gym. There's a rematch clause. We got to get back into it. We got to get back in the gym." And Ruiz wasn't doing that. He was too good. Hey man, I was thankful for the opportunity. I think Eddie Hearn, I think Al Heyman. I got the Snickers. Oh man, this is great. And he ended up blowing up. So that when they made the official announcement that the rematch was going to happen on December 7th, and it was going to be in Saudi Arabia, when you had that first appearance, Andy Ruiz was 300 and some pounds. So, he was he was just not necessarily prepared for all of that. So he had to adjust from, being a guy that's trying to, trying to, trying to be a guy to try to get to that particular point to being the man. And when you're the man, you have to be able to handle everything that comes with it. And Andy Ruiz Jr. was not prepared to handle everything that came with being the unified heavyweight champion of the world, being the number one heavyweight out there. So that was the thing with Andy Ruiz. So while you had on one side coming into the rematch, Anthony Joshua came in lighter, slimmer, sleeker, while Andy Ruiz had to struggle just to get down to the point where he was, and that during training camp, they said that he wasn't really all, completely into it like he used to. And they said, like, Michael Hunter was giving him that work. And when they say, like, Michael Hunter's giving him that work, he wasn't ready for fighting Anthony Joshua at that time. So here, we have to see what happens with Tyson Fury. And for me, I think Tyson Fury has more in the bag to where he doesn't necessarily have to move around the ring and move his head and try to move if he doesn't have to. He can, but with his height and his reach, he doesn't have to. What he's looking at across the ring is a much younger version of Vladimir Klitschko. Okay, you have Deontay Wilder. They're at 6'7" with an 83-inch reach. Tyson Fury defeated Vladimir Klitschko, who was around 6'7", with around that same reach. So he's had fights against guys that height. He's trained against the likes of Vladimir. He's trained against Vladimir Klitschko before. He's trained with Anthony Joshua before. So it's not like he's unfamiliar with guys around that height. So with Fury, it's all about what he's going to do in that ring. How mobile will he be? How active will he be with his hands? Because the thing with Deontay Wilder is not very active with his hands. He just throws one or two punches at a time because he puts everything in his punches, in his jab, in his hook, in his uppercut. He puts everything in those. He put so much into those. That's why he has all of those. That's why he has his injuries with his arm or his hand or whatever he wants to explain it to be. Because he puts way too much energy in throwing those shots. He doesn't concentrate on you know being able to throw the punch with the best effort, not just maximum effort, but the best effort. Because of course, one of the best punches out there in boxing history was Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, he was a short dude, but he knew how to throw a punch. Particularly how he was able to get down, like how you know um Joe Frazier does, and he uses his power from his lower body, and then uses the torque in order to get everything from his punch. So he doesn't have to go from back here like many fighters. He goes from here and hits people that way, and he hits them short. So he doesn't have to go as far back to hit people with his punch. Because everything's right here. Bam, 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 bam. So that's the thing. Yeah, yep, yep. I'm still this is still live. This is still live, Phil. Still live, still going on. Just still was talking about the fight. I'm gonna say once again, I will try to be live around the time when the fight is happening. So be on the lookout on this particular YouTube channel to see if you'll have the link, and then we'll see if we'll be able to be on so that we could talk about what's happening on the fight, while it happens. But if not, then we'll see if we can get a post-fight reaction live video here on the Boxing Source YouTube page. Shout out to Phil Garrett from Boxing Updates. Out here. So Phil, your thoughts about what's going to happen tomorrow? I want to see if I could post your prediction of the fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Do you remember a certain buddy of ours saying Wilder can't make the mid 220s? uh, yeah, yeah, that was a good little while ago. Man, I was gonna try to log into the thing for BoxRec so that I could get the weights, in for these particular guys. I might be able to do that. Just bear with me for one second. I was gonna try to get that, but yeah, you have Deontay Wilder, now at 200 and you know 31 pounds coming into this particular fight. So um that's something of a concern to me because I kind of say that the thing with Deontay Wilder is that he's not very mobile around the ring, you know, um, and that he just stands, stationary when he throws his punches. He doesn't like move towards people when he punches. So, man, he's been saying Wilder for a long time, you know, but he's thinking now Fury may actually KO him. Um, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. Um, the thing with Tyson Fury, I mean, we've seen Deontay Wilder be hurt a couple of times. He did get dropped on the canvas early in his career. Um, but kind of, my thing is, with Deontay Wilder, I don't think that he is going to be um knocked out. I think that he is going to be at the particular um instance where he could be stopped. I don't necessarily think that he's going to be knocked out. I think it's going to be an instance where he's going to be stopped. So that's kind of what I see in this instance is that if Fury is going to win by knockout, it's going to be to the particular point where he's going to be stopped or he's not going to be able to answer the bell at a particular portion in this fight. Let me see. I think I'm able to get into this thing here for the weights. Um, so here's so I'm gonna read Deontay Wilder's weights at the weigh-in before his fights, and I'm going to start back in 2014 when he fought Malik Scott for what was the gotcha. TKO. Cool. Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at. Wilder's broken arm or Wilder's broken hand. Because at one point, remember, initially after the first fight, he was talking about a broken arm in camp. But recently he said it's a broken hand. So which one is it, Deontay? Which one is it? Let me see if I can get into this thing here. Like I said, his fight against Malik Scott back in March 15th of 2014, he weighed in at 227 pounds. Then his next fight against Gavin, 224, against Severn, 219, against Molina, 229, Duhaupas, 228, Spilka, 228, Areola, 226, Washington, 222, Severn, 220, Luis Ortiz, 214, Tyson Fury, 212, Dominic Brazil, 223, Luis Ortiz, 219, and now he's at 231 pounds. His hand arm. Oh man. Yo. 231 pounds. What time is a fight in the UK? Ooh, it'll be around 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the UK. If I'm not mistaken, y'all are 5 hours ahead of the East Coast in the US. So like currently, now if it's 1:14 a.m. over in the UK, then the fight will start at about 4 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. over in the UK, as Phil was saying. So hopefully it does kind of like streamline itself. The pay-per-view card is supposed to start at about 9 p.m. here in the East Coast. So that'll be about 2 a.m. over there. You'll have you have like one fight. There'll be 4 fights on the card. You have you have the thing with Navarrete defending his title. That'll be part of this. I don't know why, but Sebastian Fundora against Daniel Lewis will be part of the pay-per-view portion of this card. Then it'll be followed by Emmanuel Navarrete defending his WBO Super Bantamweight Championship against Gio Santissima. And then the co-featured bout will be an IBF title eliminator bout with Charles Martin, the former IBF heavyweight champion of the world, going up against Gerald Washington. And then the main event, the rematch, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, WBC heavyweight championship Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championship. Um, and that's basically what you have. This whole thing with lineal, man, I ain't, I ain't talking about the whole thing with lineal. ESPN was saying lineal and da 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 da, and Blase Skippy or whatever it is. Um, me, man, I don't, I don't necessarily count this as lineal because Tyson Fury retired. Since Tyson Fury retired, then that lineage is broken, unless if they say that the winner of this fight will be the new lineal champion for some strange rule or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, car fillers. Yeah, the car fillers, man. That was something that we were talking about over the previous four weeks or month or so, that we all knew about this rematch happening for months, but we wanted to figure out what were they going to do with the undercard. And when they announced that this card would only have one cross promotional fight in it, that was the thing about it. And that was pretty much a disappointment there. Gerald Washington, the goat. Gerald Washington, the goat. Wilder knocks out Fury in round 8. Fury will be winning, then Wilder knocks him out, and Joshua stops Pulev. 3 rounds, easy fight, not a contest. I mean, it for me. It just depends on how Fury looks in this particular bout. If Fury is completely within himself, then I feel that Fury will be able to win this fight by decision. But if he has any point where he slows down and he gets caught with the run of Wilder's punches, then he could go down. This is a heavyweight division. Okay. This is 200 plus pound guys throwing punches at full force to other people's heads. So it doesn't matter, if they're 205, 225, 245, or 265. If they're able to hit you flush in the right spot, you're going to go down. This whole thing about Wilder being the most powerful guy, not gonna say that, but this is a heavyweight division. Anybody could go down. Okay. Um, Joshua stops Pulev in 3 rounds. Easy fight, not a contest. That I haven't checked, but I haven't seen when this particular fight is solidified, what the date is going to be, venue, and everything like that. Remember, Anthony Joshua was supposed to fight Kubrat Pulev um, after his win over Latimer Klitschko, but Pulev had to pull out due to a shoulder injury, and that's where Carlos Takam had been inserted in as the last minute or last week replacement. His Takam was the number 2 guy, while Pulev was the number 1 guy. So Pulev was able to get himself back into the number 1 position. Shout out to that Sushi chick or whatever it was. And he'll be, fighting for the unified heavyweight championships. We're going to see if it's going to be like in Tottenham Stadium or, maybe, back at the O2 or something like that, or they're trying to see if they can get it in another stadium, So we'll see about that. Real quick, Phil says, yeah, Fury retired twice. Yep, he did retire twice. He was like, yeah, I'm done. He's like, yeah, coming back. No, I'm done again. So he retired twice, and that broke the lineage. Um, they put in Latimer Klitschko as the lineal champion of the world with his win over Ruslan Chagayev. I don't know how that became the case, but they had ruled that he is a lineal champion, and then I guess it's because Latimer Klitschko had that winning streak, beating all those guys, being widely regarded as the number 1 heavyweight of the division for a long time. so that once he got that win over Ruslan Chagiev, that's when they gave him lineal status. It's almost like they said, like how they have the WBA champion and the WBA super champion, you could get elevated to super champion status by defending and winning that title. What is it, about 7 times or something like that? So that's probably how Vladimir Klitschko was elevated to the lineal champion status. Real quick, AJ is looking fast now. His speed is incredible. Maybe his speed is getting a lot better, but he's a lot more fluid than he was. He's a lot more fluid with his punches. Remember, a majority of the time that Anthony Joshua was fighting, he was fighting at much a little bit higher weights. So in his rematch against Andy Ruiz Jr., he came in there 237 pounds. That is the lightest that he had ever been since, and it's been almost 6 years. Like, he hadn't been under 230 or 240 pounds since 2014. So with him being at around that range, if he being more fluid with his punches, throwing more combinations, then yeah, that makes him a more dangerous fighter as far as I'm concerned. Says I got White beating Ruiz, White on points. Well, Andy Ruiz isn't going to fight Dylan White. Dylan White is, slated to fight Alexander Povetkin. They have pretty much, agreed to fight each other. So it will be Dylan White against Alexander Povetkin. They will, pretty much announce like a date and all the details of that pretty soon. Andy Ruiz, he had his win against Anthony Joshua. Then he had his performance in the rematch, and that was not a good performance at all. And it was very disappointing all the way around. And I was kind of disappointed in that, because I mean, this is a guy that had been doing this thing for all of his life, and he worked up to that point to where he fought for the vacant WBO title against Joseph Parker. And after getting that close loss where some people thought that he won that fight, Bob Arum dropped him off and left him basically, on the shelf, and he didn't have a fight, for a while. I mean, he, like I said, he had that whole little thing. Actually, they were having issues. I remember this too. They were having issues with this particular fight between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Joseph Parker, because they were trying to find a sponsor for that fight, and they couldn't really find a sponsor for that fight. They barely found a sponsor for that fight. Excuse me. And then they were able to hold that fight over in New Zealand. Joseph Parker was able to win, and Bob Arum just put him on the shelf. I mean, look at Eddie Ruiz. I mean, he's just a fat guy. He just didn't have enough to beat Joseph Parker. It was just not good enough. And that's why, with him not winning the world heavyweight title, I had to put him on the shelf. And that's, what he did. And Andy Ruiz Jr. was on the shelf for 15 months before his next fight, March 10, 2018. Then he fought another fight in September 2018. Then he had the fight against Alexander Dimitrenko, April of 2019, before he scored that upset win. Povetkin knocks him out in 5 rounds. Wait, so you're saying that Alexander Povetkin is going to knock out Dylan White in 5 rounds? Ooh. Mm, 6-5 points was the 12th round. I don't know. I don't know. Parker stops Chisora 10-round slugfest. No. Parker is going to be fighting next week against Shondell Winters in Frisco, Texas. That is part of the card headlined by Mikey Garcia against Jesse Vargas for the WBC Diamond welterweight title. So Joseph Parker, former champion, going against Shondell Winters. Chisora, okay, after that. Okay. Um, will they put him in there? Because remember, I think they were trying to set up Derek Chisora to fight Alexander Usyk. But Alexander Usyk suffered an injury, so that fight has been scrapped. So now Chisora is like on the bench. Man, I don't know what they're gonna do with Chisora, man. I mean, he's he had the little thing there where he had a little bit of momentum in his knockout win over Archer Spilka. Then he fought Derek Chisora and got sparked. Before he had the fight with Dylan White, he got sparked. Then later on, he was able to come back. He fought Sanagashi, and then he had the fight at the O2 Arena with him and Spilka, and he sparked Spilka in the second round. Then he was able to fight David Price near the end of last year and was able to score that TKO victory. So we're gonna see here what's next for him. Teofimo looking good. Teofimo Lopez will be fighting Vasilomachenko for the IBF, WBO, and WBA Super Lightweight Championships. Vasilomachenko is a WBC franchise champion, so that title can't be on the line. Shout out to Top Rank for making Vasilomachenko or getting Vasilomachenko to fight Luke Campbell for the vacant WBC lightweight title, and then eventually elevated him to franchise champion. Shout out to that. Even though Lomachenko said that he wanted to be the undisputed lightweight champion, now he can't be the undisputed lightweight champion. But you have Vasilomachenko against Teofimo Lopez. They are trying to lock it down for May 30th. We have Vasilomachenko that said, "Oh, Teofimo Lopez, who is that guy?" Well, he said, he's like, "Get a belt and we could get it on." And well, Teofimo Lopez, in December, was able to, get that IBF title with that second round stoppage win that he was, able to get. And that's when they basically announced that it will be Vasilomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez for those unified titles. Like I said, Lopez was able to have that highlight reel knockout at Madison Square Garden against Richard Comey, like he had a year ago or a year before against Mason Menard. They, kind of like featured him on, the weekend of the Heisman Trophy presentation there in New York. So he wanted to be a part of that. His fight against Richard Comey, two guys are from New York. So that was a very anticipated fight. Being a co-feature to Crawford versus Gidijis Kavaliauskas. No, I don't say Mean Machine. It's the Crawford Mean Machine. No, I say Gidijis Kavaliauskas. That's right. All right. So Teofimo is great, but will he beat Loma? Nope. I'm on the fence. To be honest, I'm on the fence. Vasilomachenko. He's been able to, win titles in multiple divisions. But when he moved up to the lightweight division and he took on Jorge Linares, for I think it was that WBA title. Like I saw something in there where one Lomachenko wasn't, as fluent and mobile that he was in the super featherweight division, and second, Jorge Linares was able to time Lomachenko, and that's where he was able to catch Lomachenko coming in and hit him square with that right hand and put him, stop him in his tracks and put him down. Teofimo got power, man. He got more power behind him than Jorge Linares does. That's gonna be something. That's going to be a fight. That's going to be a very, very good fight. I'm hoping that it is at Madison Square Garden. I want to go to that fight. I seriously want to go to that fight. Franchises, BS. Yeah, well, it's the WBC. What do you expect? Same WBC that, doesn't necessarily follow its rules when it comes to mandatory defenses. We're talking about the WBC that was able to, before the whole thing with Deontay Wilder, that's something else. But remember, this is the same WBC that had Adonis Stevenson as a longtime WBC light heavyweight champion that faced top guys in the light heavyweight division, but never fought the number one or the mandatory contender, which at the time was Eleider Alvarez. Yeah, they were under the same manager or whatever it is, and they were able to work step aside fees or whatever it is. But it never was able to defend against his manager at the time, Yeah, that was like a flash knockdown, and Lomachenko was able to adjust and be able to stop Jorge Linares to win that lightweight title. Then he was able to, win the WBO title at the tail end of that year, and then he was able to, fight, Luke Campbell for the vacant WBC title. And that was funny because Ben was able to get himself to talk to the WBC and Jose Suleiman and be like, hey, Suleiman, let's see if we can get my guy, Vasyl Lomachenko, against Luke Campbell for the WBC Lightweight Championship. When the WBC initially plans to have a tournament for that WBC title. Now, the thing about that is, Teofimo Lopez was one of the 4 contenders that could have fought in the tournament for the WBC title. You had Teofimo Lopez. You had Luke Campbell. You had Devin Haney. And at the time, you had Zaur Abdullayev. Those were the top 4 contenders for the WBC lightweight title. And they were going to schedule a tournament. Haney versus Abdullayev, Teofimo Lopez versus Luke Campbell. And the winners would have fought each other for that WBC title. And then, Bob Arum was able to be the guy to get that fight to happen between Lomachenko and Luke Campbell. It's going to be an You need this so that we'll be able to have Vasyl Lomachenko as a WBC lightweight champion. They were able to make that happen. And, geez, wait a minute. How many times did Vasyl Lomachenko defend that WBC championship? Oh, 0 times. Not even once. Not even once. After he got the title, they made him the franchise champ. So it is what it is. Let's go with it's on family holiday. Oh man, if they do make it for well, it might be around like what, Memorial Day weekend over here. Ooh, And we haven't extended thing, but you got to be on a family trip, man. That sucks to be you, man. Once again, this is a little conversation. We were going to have a quick reaction to the weigh-in of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury real quick. He had Deontay Wilder coming in there at 231 pounds. Tyson Fury at 273 pounds. The rematch is tomorrow. MGM Grand Garden Arena. Pay-per-view starts around 9 p.m. Eastern time. That will be around 2 a.m. UK time. The main event will fall at around 11:30 or so. So it'll be around like 4:30 over there in the UK. So y'all have to have an early night. Sleep early around there in the UK or whatnot. I think there's going to be a lot more interest about this fight in the UK than the US. No. Paul Bear has not shown up. However, if a certain fighter loses on Saturday, he might show up. If a certain fighter loses on Saturday, he might show up. Phil. Oh man. Hey. But hey, that's that's what we got there so far, man. Like I said, looking forward to tomorrow. Y'all go ahead, support this match. You're in the US, Fox pay-per-view, ESPN pay-per-view, or go to a sports bar or go to the AMC theaters to go and see it. I'm going to the AMC theaters to see it. Over in the UK, BT Sport pay-per-view. Go ahead and support it. Y'all don't have to pay nearly as much as we do. I don't know. I forgot what the exchange rate is though. For it. But go ahead and support. It's very important pay-per-view from a business standpoint. I do talk about business in my podcast Sundays live, Sundays 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, 12:30 a.m. UK time on Blog Talk Radio. But I do talk about the business of the sport. And remember, Dan Rafael reported that both of these fighters will be guaranteed up to $25 million for this particular fight. So that pay-per-view buy rate has to be high. Higher than Method Man and Red Man up to the sky. Got to be higher than that for them to be able to break even. $50 million is basically the total purse for this particular fight. And if they plan to have a rematch, you got to see if this is going to be very successful. The mistake that that was made after the first fight is that they couldn't necessarily get the rematch going then. But I don't think that it would have been as good or that good for each fighter if the rematch was immediate. So here with the purses that they have, they pretty much have around twice as much now than they did in the first fight. So that's good for their end. But you have to have at least a million two pay-per-view buys over here in the US for it to, make some money, because there was so much money invested in trying to promote this particular fight. So they got to come through. People got to come through and support one way or another. The thing with the theaters is the theaters and the bars, they already got the money for that. It depends on what the individual homes and that are able to buy the pay per view here. I'm not sure what it's going to do in BT Sport. I don't know how the numbers work over there for BT Sports pay per view. But over here in the U.S., if they don't come through, then it's gonna suck for them to try to get this thing going once again. They won't necessarily have as much momentum, and the timing won't be like it was now. You had the Super Bowl to go off on. You had Daytona 500 to go off on, where a lot of eyes would be able to see that okay, this fight is happening. But like I was saying earlier, when I was over at a fast food place and people saw, the promotion or the coverage for this fight on ESPN, I said, "Hey, are you going to be watching the fight?" It's like, "No, I'm not interested." It has to be somebody that's a boxing fan that says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch this fight." But if you're not necessarily fully into it and you don't know these guys, then you're not gonna be interested in watching it. But they're gonna need some of those people in order for this particular event to be successful. It's going towards 8:45 Eastern time here over in the East Coast of the U.S. Fairly late out there in the UK. So y'all be able to get your rest over in the UK. Over here in the US, we're gonna get ready tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Pay per view starts. I think they're gonna have something. I think they have the thing for coverage for Fox and ESPN. Um, I think I had the where is it? I think I had the thing for the schedule, the TV schedule. So I'm trying to let me see if I could pull this thing up. Let me see if they have it. Okay, so at 5 p.m. Eastern time, the first fight on this card will start. But the on about what is it 7 p.m. Eastern time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, they're gonna have the preliminary bouts that will show on Fox Sports One and ESPN News. So if you don't have ESPN News over in the US, most likely you have Fox Sports One, so you'll be able to watch it on Fox Sports One. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern time, you're going to have the pay-per-view start. After the last fight, you're going to have the post-fight press conference. They'll be inside the ring for that. So that's basically the schedule for tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to try to see if I could be on live for this particular fight. So just subscribe to the Boxing Source here on YouTube, and you'll be able to get updates on that. So we'll see how that works, how we're going to work that out. But if not, then we'll have a post-fight reaction. So you'll be able to tune into the YouTube channel then. But that's pretty much what I got here. Like I said, subscribe to the Boxing Source on YouTube. Catch the Boxing Source radio show live on Sundays on Blog Talk Radio. Subscribe to the podcast. Look it up on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor.fm, whatever your favorite podcast app is. Subscribe, listen to the podcast. You can join the podcast if you want. But until tomorrow, Judgment Day, the rematch for the WBC and Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championships. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Until then, I'm out. Peace.